Professional wrestling is an art. It just needed to be said. But many people don't like wrestling, or they don't get it. But the men and women who display their skills inside of a ring, they're artists. Some people, though, aren't very good at it. Now, Taker versus Michaels at WrestleMania 25, that's like The Godfather in their match at Mania 26, that's like The Godfather 2. But every match Eva Marie has ever been in is like the Fantastic Four remake. But when wrestlers get it just right, for that brief moment of time, they can still make it real to us. Damn it. While the sport has evolved amazingly since its early carny beginnings into a billion-dollar empire, we can still look back and appreciate everyone who helped move it forward. I'm basing my list off a wrestler's in-ring ability, how influential they were, and their ability to draw. And with that all in place, I'm Andrew with WhatCulture, and here are the 10 greatest wrestlers of all time. Number 10, Brock Lesnar. Out of anyone I considered for this list, Brock by far has the fewest amount of total matches, but no one in this era creates the big fight feel like Brock does, and it's really not even close. No one is as intimidating as him in the ring or can match his aura of danger. He's just a freak of nature with nearly unmatched real-life credentials and superb in-ring ability, and despite so few total matches, he's been in quite a few of the greatest WWE has ever seen. While Paul Heyman has cut 90% of Brock's promos for him throughout his career, he's underrated on the mic and is one of the few people who do not have to work in those awkward network plugs. Not since The Rock in his prime has one wrestler just felt as must-see as the Beast has, and had he not left the company in 2004, he may be in the top 5 of this list. Number 9, Shawn Michaels. While Michaels was never the draw that Steve Austin or even John Cena was, and while his promos were usually just kinda decent, and yeah, the DX reunion thing is one of the worst things to ever happen to wrestling, he earns his place on this list by being the greatest in-ring performer ever. From the Midnight Rockers to his finale with Undertaker at Mania 26, Michaels was untouchable, and amazingly, he truly did seem to get better with age. After spending 4 years out of the business with a back injury, he returned and put on compelling matches with Triple H, Chris Jericho, and Undertaker. And their Mania 25 match may be the greatest in the history of the industry, and both men were in their 40s at the time. So to crap on Shawn just a little more before we praise him again, his attitude usually sucked, and he may have been a pain to work with, but when it comes to delivering great matches, he absolutely deserved the showstopper moniker. Number 8, Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes didn't look like a professional wrestler, his voice didn't really sound like a wrestler, but very few wrestlers have ever ended up as loved as he was. He may have mentioned it once or twice in a promo, but Dusty was the son of a plumber, a man who just came from humble beginnings and then exploded into pop culture like few wrestlers ever have. Fans believed in him on his journey as he teamed up with Dick Murdoch all the way to becoming the American Dream. He could brawl, he could talk, and he sure as hell could dance. He was the ultimate entertainer and delivered some of the best promos ever seen in wrestling. If life has ever got you down, go watch this man get funky like a monkey, and he may just inspire you too to reach your dreams. Number 7, The Rock. Rock would say the dumbest ever, like Rudy Poo Candy Ass, Kung Pao Bitch, and how he's gonna take us to the SmackDown Hotel? And yet, he made it sound so cool. When he left WWE, it was like there was this giant hole that absolutely nobody could fill. So we were given John Cena, and then for the next 10 years we were all like, this isn't what I signed up for. And so millions of us left. Rock was never an elite worker, but he has been in a handful of truly great matches and rarely put on a bad performance. But for him, it didn't even matter. His offense could have just been nothing but atomic drops, and we'd still think it was amazing. There will likely never be another Rock. No wrestler has ever been as naturally cool as him, and perhaps only Hogan can match him in charisma. Even for people who say they don't like wrestling at all, they'll even admit they like The Rock. Number 6, Steve Austin. Austin makes my list for all-time best, mainly for his run in the late 90s, while he was entertaining in the Hollywood Blondes and, well, serviceable as the ringmaster. As Stone Cold, he didn't just shake up the wrestling world, but he made the entire world once again care about wrestling. You couldn't go anywhere without seeing Austin 316 shirts. They were all over sporting events, malls, and churches, and by himself, he made Raw a blast to watch. There are still few things as iconic in all of wrestling as that classic glass shatter, and unlike some of the top stars in the rock and wrestling era, Austin could always go in the ring. The man had damn good matches with Taker, Foley, and The Rock, and he did that all on a bad neck. It's really scary to think of how good he would have been if completely healthy. So give your boss the middle finger, grab your neighbor and give him a stunner, and raise a Steve Weiser to Stone Cold. Number 5, Ric Flair. Any list of best wrestlers without the styling, profiling, limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling, dealing son of a gun would be incomplete and obsolete. Flair is said to be able to carry a broom to a 3-star match, which means he was able to get Sid Vicious to about a 2.5-star match, which is pretty impressive. He is also one of the all-time great promo men who could just pack in arenas with his words alone. He's the best in-ring worker of the 80s and could likely land on a list for the 90s as well. From the Four Horsemen all the way to Evolution, he kept up with the times and somehow delivered entertaining matches even into his 50s. And while he probably stuck around a few years too long, the amount of classics he's produced over his career may never be topped. Number 4, Lou Thesz. Lou Thesz was a world champion when he was 21 years old, and he was the oldest world champion ever until Vince McMahon beat that record when he was 54 and just kind of gave himself the title. Lou's career lasted more than 60 years. He was a huge star in America, and he helped make the sport popular in Japan, where he remained a legend until the end of his life. Besides his ability to sell tickets, he created the belly-to-back suplex and the powerbomb, which is like the coolest wrestling move ever, and believe it or not, he is also rumored to have had a hand in creating the Lou Thesz press. He held the NWA heavyweight title for a combined 3,749 days. WWE ranked him at number 21 on their greatest superstars of all time list, and Edge at number 19, which is, well, that's just one of the most ridiculous things they've ever done. Don't pay any attention to that. Instead, pay attention to Thesz, or he just may stretch you for not showing enough respect. Number 3, Hulk Hogan. Hogan was maybe a 5 out of 10 as an in-ring worker, and his promos were often quite filled with the same redundant words like Hulkamaniacs, brother maniacs, Brutus the Barber Maniac, Brother Maniac. But Hogan may simply be the most famous wrestler of all time, and that has to count for something. While some wrestlers have to perform incredibly risky moves to get a reaction from the crowd, all Hogan had to do was look at them and they'd explode. He formed a connection with the audience that made him seem larger than life. He was a real-life superhero, defeating all the world's most dangerous villains like Andre the Giant, King Kong Bundy, and the Genius. Despite a lack of athleticism, he still had classic matches over the course of his lengthy career, with Ultimate Warrior and The Rock near the top of the list. Hogan still has an important lesson for wrestlers to learn. Why do a shooting star press when a simple leg drop can be more over? Number 2, Buddy Rogers. Buddy Rogers took wrestling off the mat. Matches used to just mimic Greco-Roman style wrestling, where one dude would sit on the mat holding another dude's gut for an hour. People loved it because cell phones didn't exist, so what else were they gonna do? But Rogers helped make wrestling what it is today. Standing, throwing hands, running into the ropes, body slams, basically making the thing more theatrical. Rogers was also a huge draw. In 1961, in one match alone, over 50,000 fans came to see him battle Pat O'Connor. And he also inspired a bunch of ripoffs. Vince McMahon's strut comes from Rogers, and Ric Flair, the 5th greatest wrestler of all time, is just one giant Buddy Rogers ripoff. A damn good ripoff, but a ripoff nonetheless. Really, it's hard to beat the original, and only one person can. And coming in at number 1 is Gorgeous George. If you love professional wrestling because of the characters, then you have George to thank. He simply reinvented the business like nobody else has. He put showmanship above in-ring ability and set forth a trend that countless others have followed. His work went far beyond the wrestling world, as even Muhammad Ali, quite possibly the most famous athlete ever, admits he was greatly influenced by Gorgeous George, as did James Brown. Now, there were heels and showboats in the wrestling world before George, but he took it to a whole other level. He dyed his hair blonde, he wore flashy robes, and he had a bombastic attitude way ahead of its time. He was a snob and also the highest paid athlete of the 40s, and he was good friends with Bob Hope. Gorgeous George didn't just sell tickets, he sold TVs. And if you added Rock, Hogan, and Austin together at their peaks, they wouldn't even come close to touching his level of viewership. Now, that's due in large part to changes in technology, but simply, if George hadn't changed the game so dramatically and become such a huge star, there may be no Rock or Hogan or Austin, or perhaps even top 10 wrestling list to speak of. Well, that's the list. Who do you think are the top 10 greatest wrestlers of all time? Sound off below and let us know. I'm Andrew with WhatCulture, and you can follow me at Andrew Soucek on Twitter. Thanks for watching, and make sure to like, share, and subscribe.
Hello, magazine called Wrestling. That's right, it's time for issue 3 of Wrestling, this time focusing on the 100 greatest wrestlers of all time. That's been decided by our votes, wrestlers' votes, and of course, your votes. There's a big feature on the practice of blading, and of course, a How WWE Should Have Booked written by this guy. This time, How WWE Should Have Booked the anonymous Raw general manager. Not only that, but there are 5 covers of WhatCulture Wrestling 3 to collect out there. Can you catch them all? I don't care. Wrestling! As ever, you can pre-order the magazine by going to shop.whatculture.com.